is a professor of political science and international relations at Middle Tennessee State University. Thanks very much for joining us here on TRT World. So certainly a lot has happened over the past 2 years, and we have seen this back and forth between the Russian and Ukrainian forces. But it seems to me now that Russia is advancing at a very rapid pace. We just saw the latest map of the front line, and now it seems Russia is in control of places where Ukrainians had a very tough time trying to keep their control. So what do you make of the latest developments?
Yes, the situation for Ukraine is extremely dangerous. There is a chance that Russian troops will break through Ukrainian defense lines in the east. Kharkiv, the second most important city in Ukraine, former capital, is threatened. And yes, weapons are very important, but the key problem for Ukraine is demography. The country has 1/5 of Russian population, and the men have been to a large extent mobilized already. Ukrainian government, as it was mentioned in your report, is trying to mobilize additional quantities, is trying to
To that
prevent
point,
Ukrainians.
Professor, I wonder to what extent there is interest from young Ukrainian men when it comes to joining Ukrainian forces. I mean, it's been 2 years now. So what do you think is the motivation level of a normal Ukrainian man over the age of 18 for fighting for
The latest
his or
poll
his
has
country?
shown The latest poll has shown that only a third of eligible Ukrainian men are willing to go and fight. That means that the level of enthusiasm is already pretty low. It is related to the absence of adequate munitions and to the policies of the government. And all these are serious problems. Of course, the new package that was adopted, it offers between 14 and 17 billion dollars, directly in military munitions. There's an expectation that there would be pretty quick supplies of artillery shells, of anti-aircraft systems, and of tanks and other military vehicles. These could be helpful, but at the same time, the key problem is demography. And Ukraine finds itself at a very serious disadvantage in this regard that would not go away, whether there are supplies or not.
Okay, now, Professor, for the past 2 years, the front line has been in the eastern side of the country, limited to Donetsk and Luhansk. But we have seen time and time again efforts from the Russian forces to move the front line towards the west. I wonder how likely is it for the Russians to move the front line to cities such as Konstantinivka?
Yeah, clearly there are preparations for advance, for offensive, and it might be much more larger in scale than simply advancing towards Konstantinovka. Again, there is an expectation that there would be a move towards Kharkiv. And the key issue is, would Russia try to cut Ukraine off the sea? That means moving towards the ports of Nikolaev and Odessa and potentially to the Moldova's border. Moldova is itself in a very tough situation because it has a Transnistria region in the east that de facto is self-governing for the last 30 years. And clearly, the optimum solution for Putin would be to get in direct contact with Transnistria, cutting off Ukraine from the sea, and at the same time having direct access to this part of Moldova.
Okay, now, Professor, before I let you go, I want our audience to get an understanding of the bigger picture as well. With how things stand right now, what do you think the future holds for this war?
It's a war of resources to a very large extent, and Russia has a huge advantage in terms of resources. The West compensates partly Ukrainian disadvantage through the military and other supplies. But in the long run, Russia would still rely on this resource advantage and that puts Ukraine in a very tough position.
Professor Andrei Korobkov, thanks very much for talking to us here on TRT World.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your taking out the time.